Well, you said that your mental state kind of deteriorated after this whole Timor-Leste situation. You started using steroids. Yep. You started drinking a lot of vodka.
My God, dude.
And you realized that you were not just a protector, you were part of the chaos as well.
Yeah, I don't know that I ever said I was a protector. I don't, and saying my mental state had deteriorated was, that would be a significant understatement.
Okay.
No, I think one thing that's very difficult to understand for a lot of people, because, you know, we all grow up and we want to be a brain surgeon or a truck driver or a fireman or a rapper or whatever the case may be. And you say, it's going to be this, right? My world was difficult to explain. I did not have a job, a skill set that I could explain to you or your viewers in an hour. It was an evolution of things that worked well into a world that very, 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 very few people understand. Like, I did a podcast with a guy who had been a SEAL, one guy who had been on Delta Force. And I was talking to him like it was old home week, like, you know, I did this and I did that. And they look at me like I'm nuts and they go, I never did that. That the U.S. government, it's not U.S. government, every government in the world that I've worked with, and I've worked with a lot of intelligence agencies from a lot of different countries, it is a very, very odd world where you don't know at any given time what somebody else is doing. I meet you guys here, we talk, we have some things in common, but we have very, very different objectives. I don't know who you are, I don't know where you're from, I don't know what your gig is, I just know you're in it, right? And as a result of living all those years, I think, I mean, at my age, I should be able to look back and learn a few things from that, right? So in retrospect, and writing a memoir is a very, very good way to make sense of things in your life. But by the time I finished in Timor, I had gone to the far edges. You know what's a really great metaphor? I love the writer Joseph Conrad. He's one of my favorite writers. And then that became Apocalypse Now. Do you know that movie, Apocalypse Now?
Yeah, of course.
Now? Okay.
Yeah.
Some people do. Colonel Kurtz in the cave in the jungle is pretty much exactly the way I would describe the way I was.
Really?
It was that bad.
The Marlon Brando character?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, I'm not trying to usurp a great character and claim I'm Marlon Brando, but I will claim
Okay.
the parallels are extraordinary.
But that character was essentially a psychopath.
Oh,
You know,
everybody in my game was a psychopath.
He had dead bodies hanging all over through the trees. I think they had like necklaces with ears and so forth. It was some real, like, you know, Lord of the Flies kind of thing.
Yeah.
Is that what you were going through to a certain degree?
I never had any ears around my neck.
What about dead bodies and so forth?
Well, there were dead bodies everywhere that I've spent any time. It's a consequence of war, you know. But I'm not saying I was Marlon Brando. I am saying that the human mind goes odd places, and it's not always associated with war. I'm not saying I was unique in any way. I think one thing that I found in my life is that the human condition moves people to places that they would not normally go. And it's just a threshold. My threshold is much higher than somebody else's, but you know as well as I do that you've been driving down the 405 on a Saturday afternoon and there's some soccer mom losing her whatever because she's had a really bad day and she's acting it out, right? Now, what's the difference between that and being in a gunfight in a Hadramaut in Yemen? You know, it's the same human mechanism. And when I talk about the things that I've done in my life, specifically in this book, I think what I've come away with is it doesn't matter what my threshold is. It doesn't matter what somebody else is. That we all have, as human beings, the same breaking points. And it's what we do when we get there. I don't think it's any different. I think the human mind, the soul, the spirit, what we look as God and religion and spirituality, as good and bad, moral, otherwise. You talk about sociopaths, psychopaths. Bill Clinton was a sociopath. Many CEOs and organizations. I say that because I worked at the National Center Analysis of Violent Crime within the FBI when they actually did a test. I mean, they did it informally, and they said, yeah, Bill Clinton very clearly fits that. You look, if you look at the true definition of psychopath or sociopath, it's not a DSM-4 diagnosis, it's a personality temperament. A little more extraordinary than Myers-Briggs or something like that. But I look at it and say that in order to do a broad spectrum of jobs, those elements are important. And it's a very large number of CEOs or people that work in government. So sociopath and psychopath are used to describe serial killers because in popular literature that is a very common designation. But that's not the case.
I mean, during all these years, were you maintaining a relationship, a marriage? Were you had a son who ultimately ended up having drug problems at 14.
Yes.
He was actually smuggling cocaine from Nicaragua.
Well, that's not exactly true, but it is true.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did not smuggle it. I'm doing a book with him. So the most recent book I wrote is called Anonymous Male, and we're doing a book together called Anonymous Son, which combines my life and his life in a way that explains some of those things. My family, like many, many, many families, is plagued by substance abuse problems. My grandfather died of drinking. My Uncle Mike died. My brother would have died, but he died of something else. It's always been a thing. So I don't think that my son Jake, who is an extraordinary guy, I mean, it's remarkable what he's done with his life. Really amazing. I don't think that, I don't associate the two. I think it's a disease that manifests in its own way. When he was 14 years old and he started developing these problems, we had this ideal life. It was a beautiful country club in Virginia. He had anything in the world he wanted. He was playing golf every day. And it had nothing to do with my life, I think. But substance abuse and how we act these things out in life is certainly part of it, but I don't think they go together in those ways, in my opinion.